The Nigerian government has presented a strategic economic reform plan aimed at accelerating growth, stabilizing the economy, and reducing poverty by 2027. The presentation, part of an investor outreach event in October 2024, outlined major policy initiatives across key sectors, including tax reform, exchange rate liberalization, and an ambitious target to lift 100 million Nigerians out of poverty while achieving a 7% GDP growth rate by 2027. Well, there is a whole lot in this document, if you ask me. But of course, we'll unpack it poco a poco. So I have right here with me Segun Sopitan, Principal Partner, Woodridge and Scott Consulting, who is joining me to unpack this. Thank you so much for joining me today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, looking at this presentation, I mean, the federal government highlighted some of its key reforms. It was or objectives, actually, if you ask me. And they're looking at a plan to deliver sustainable and inclusive growth, moving towards a gross domestic product of 7% by 2027, and lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty, and of course, creating over 50 million jobs. That sounds impressive. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, it does sound impressive. It sounds ambitious. And if it were possible, if it were possible and if this could happen, then, everybody would be excited.
When you say if it were possible, are you saying this is not possible?
Well, I have looked at that document, the investor presentation, and as somebody who's experienced with reading numbers, looking at presentations and all of that, having been in the corporate environment for many decades, when you see a presentation that is very, very heavy on rhetoric and very weak on specifics and specific action plans, it screams at you. So if you are doing a presentation, say for example, you're a banker and you have a credit committee meeting where you have to get approval.
Okay, so if I get you correctly, you're saying that you do not think the federal government is on track to delivering these things that it has highlighted?
It almost certainly won't happen. I can, so I put the words almost just to be safe.
Okay, which of these is it?
Just to be safe.
Is it lifting 100 million people out of poverty we're talking about here? Or is it, the 50 million job creation? I mean, why do you think it's not possible?
I mean, look, to lift 100 million human beings out of poverty. Let's unpack that, for example, just as an example. First of all, you'd have to define what poverty means. And by the definitions of the United Nations, the different developmental agencies all over the world, we've all agreed that poverty, generally speaking, is defined as when you live on less than $2 a day. $2 a day. So at the exchange rate today, that's 3,400 naira, roughly. 1,007 times 2, right? So that's 3,400 naira. So a lot of Nigerians are living way below that in terms of how much they spend on food alone, not to talk of other expenses.
Well, we know the last report tells us 133 million Nigerians are in
multidimensional
poverty. So how do you leave them out when more have even entered as a result of these reforms?
So now the question is, what specific policy actions and initiatives will grow the average income of the average Nigerian beyond $2 per day spent on just living expenses, right? $2 a day, it's very, very little. But when you consider the fact that a good chunk of Nigerians live in rural communities where they depend on subsistence farming and all of that, and there's a lot of poverty, multidimensional, access to health, access to potable water, and all of those things are not there. You can't see clarity in terms of planning specific policy plans, program objectives.
You probably want to look at economic stabilization bills. You want to look at some of these other things they are coming up with. Aren't they going to, move the needle?
Those things are not going to do anything about poverty. Those things
they're trying to reduce food inflation, bringing in measures, to attack that or to address that.
It's, the reason I have taken this pessimistic stance is that I don't see a clear action plan. It's not difficult to see. If you see a plan that will work.
What's a clear action plan for you?
Okay, so
about poverty,
you say you want to take people out of poverty. How do we achieve that? By empowering them and giving them the ability to earn income beyond what they're earning now. Now, you will never do that by dispensing money, by giving cash transfers. It's never going to happen. You don't move people out of poverty with conditional cash transfer programs and all of that. Those things are supposed to be jumpstart measures, while you put in place programs that will help lift them. Help me fish, don't give me fish. So which plan precisely can you see, or can I see, that is going to help the average Nigerian earn more than what they're earning now?
Well, maybe tax incentives they're offering to companies based on the new tax modifications.
Let me give you an example. The people that we refer to as poor are people that are right at the bottom of the pyramid, usually in the informal sector, doing basic vocational activities, barbers, hairdressers, vulcanizers.
All right, Mr. Sopitan, I'm afraid we need to take a break now. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us, don't go away. Glad to know you're still with us. Well, Segun Sopitan is still right here with me, and we are looking at the federal government's impressive or ambitious reform initiatives. All right, so we're still talking about the 100 million, Maybe we'll finish that and then we'll move on to the creation of 50 million jobs.
Yeah. They're related, to move people out of poverty, you want to create jobs.
Absolutely.
The more jobs you create, the more people can earn. So we can actually take the two together.
Yeah, maybe maybe the government needs to listen to people like you to know what to do. So,
yeah,
I mean, let's just get that.
So for example, if you want to take people out of poverty in Nigeria today, you have to fix power. It's impossible to take people out of poverty in a country where you've got 5,000 megawatts of power for 230 million people. Poverty is inevitable.
And grid keeps collapsing every now and then.
And the grid collapses, weekly now. So you can't take people out of poverty without those basic foundational facilities, social infrastructure and social facilities that would enable people to just earn a living. So now in all of this, the plans that looking at that document, I didn't see any clear action plan towards increasing power generation, distribution, and transmission, say, for example, to just 20,000 megawatts in the 4-year period. If you don't achieve that, you won't achieve the 7% GDP. It's just they go hand in hand. So the Baba, how can you take the Baba guy out of poverty when he's buying petrol for his generator at 1,200 naira thereabouts, depending on which part of the country he's operating at? He's getting less than 3 hours of electricity on the grid, so he has to drive his business with his own generated power, which is funding at 1,002 per liter. Now, typically, if you are using a small generator, you'll get about 1 hour of electricity for every liter that you put in your generator. So that means that guy, in order to run for an 8-hour day, he needs about 8,000 naira every day, just for power alone. We are not talking about his other expenses. So how do you take that kind of person out of poverty? So you are not talking about power generation. You are not talking about the other infrastructure, payment services, financial inclusion, access to capital. These are the things that, these are the things that you need to put in place that would unlock the potential that exists in people generally. People are ready to work, but if they don't have the wherewithal that government must provide, then you can't leave them out of poverty. So it's well and good to do all this lovely presentation slides and all that, but for people that know what is happening on ground, we haven't even started at all. All
right, let me take you on this. I want us to take a deep dive at some of the reforms documented in that particular presentation. If you can have page 10 up there, page 10 sort of has some interesting stuff, but I'm interested in just two of them where we're talking about adopting program budgeting strategies. And they are saying that this would help with, integration of technology in monitoring budgets, allocations to projects and public service delivery in Nigeria. They are saying this will also help with, leveraging e-governance and streamlining of inter- and intra-agency processes. And of course, the second one is public procurement reforms. For public procurement reforms, they're talking about adopting e-procurement systems and smart contracts to enhance transparency. You are chuckling or laughing? And digitally connecting money spent to specific uses so they can reduce the risk of funds diversion or misappropriation. This looks good if you ask me.
It looks beautiful, it looks brilliant, but again, with all respect, due respect to whoever wrote this, is hogwash. It's
so don't you think that's a bit too
harsh? It's strong, I'm sorry, but that's my opinion.
Okay. Your opinion.
It's too far from the reality on ground, and that's why for me it's just a joke. This document is from the same government that presents budget, talks about program budgeting. You know, so you're supposed to budget based on specific projects, based on specific programs and activities, you know, such that it's easy to track the execution of that budget, you know, and therefore improve accountability and ensure that you actually get a return on investment for every kobo that the country spends. But this is the same country that presents budgets that are pretty much cut and paste. All you need to do is look at the work that budget has done with regards to budget, you know, and the component of the federal budget without even going to the subnationals. Every year, there are certain items in those budgets that are repeated. You know, it's impossible for you to continue to be building the fence of a school for 5 years. And you will find items like that in the budget of different ministries and parastatals repeated year on year. So it's one thing to say these things on paper in a presentation, but what's happening in reality is completely different. You know, so...
Well, you know, I mean, I listened to Taiwo Oyedele during the presentation, the stakeholder presentation of some of their recommendations, and this section happens to be one of those. You know, he made a lot of recommendations, even some changes to the constitution and all of those. It's just that, you know, we've not seen some of those things being approved or being talked about. But don't you think this, I mean, if this is done, it will be good, right?
No, it will be good. I mean, if we can do this, and I do hope that we move in that direction. Generally speaking, you know that the wheels of governance of government business for a country like Nigeria, as big as it is, will turn a bit slowly. And in our own particular case, you know, there's a lot of inefficiency, you know, built into that system with the bureaucracy. So it will take time. And that's why, for me, I say, you know, these things is extremely unlikely that they will be achieved, because before you blink, the 4 years are gone. Okay,
they are talking about 8 years anyway. Yeah. So now let's look at this. The image on page 12, it sort of shows exchange rates, you know, convergence. Talk to us about that. How significant is this convergence, and what does it mean for...
I mean, look, the convergence would have been fantastic if we're converging on the floor value rather than on the ceiling value of the exchange rate window. There's a window of movement of the exchange rate in the last 3-4 years. In fact, forget 3-4 years, in the last year, when this administration came on board, exchange rate official rate was 461 naira to the dollar. Believe it or not, 461 naira to the dollar. Black market was about 650. It was trending towards 700 naira to the dollar.
But some would say that was unsustainable, it was, you know, it was a make-believe sort of arrangement.
I beg to differ. The reason that...
We need to close in about 30 seconds.
Okay. The reason that was happening was because the central bank was supporting, was defending the value of the naira. The central bank, admittedly, right now is not doing that anymore. So we have converged at the higher level. The exchange rate, black market and official rate is now about 1,007, which is atrocious. There is no way you are going to drive, especially for a country that is not exporting. We're an importing country. So for your exchange rate to be that weak, you are importing inflation, you are importing unemployment, and you are basically not going to have any kind of development. So the convergence is not going to be beneficial to us because we're converging at a rate that is not beneficial to the economy.
All right, I guess we'll have to talk about this some other time. Well, many thanks for joining me today. It's been an interesting conversation on Business Edge today. To enjoy the rest of the day, bye for now. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. See you.